right.
Sounds good, man.
Good. All right. Well, welcome to today's episode of the Trough. Third episode ever with my third guest of all time and our resident rookie who has been very active in the chat this year, been very involved. His name is Pratap Prasad. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Close enough, yes. It's
Yeah.
Pratap Prasad.
Pratap Prasad. Okay. My mistake. I'm usually pretty
No
good.
worries.
I'm usually pretty good with pronouncing names and stuff like that because I deal with a lot of immigrants and everything like that in my job as a college
Right.
admissions. So I get a lot of Gurpreet Kaurs and stuff like that.
Oh, trust me. Wait till you get those long South Indian names, man. Those can be a nightmare to
Oh yeah,
pronounce for some people.
yeah.
I'm South Indian myself, and I can say that with the fact some of our names can be very, very long. I don't know if you noticed it, but my first and last name, the first three letters are the same.
Yeah. Pra.
So it's a very easy to pronounce and simple. But yeah, I have been very active this year. It's just because I would be considered a resident rookie in the league because this is actually my first year in this whole league. And funny enough, I don't know if you knew the story of how I got involved.
No, I don't actually. Please tell us.
So I'm sure you know Eric Moldostad. He's probably been around the league for a few years now.
Yeah. I know Eric. Yeah.
So me and Eric are actually in a dynasty baseball league together that's been going on for about, I would say, 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
And me and Eric both actually went to Arizona State, but I believe Eric is definitely older than me by a couple of years. And through our dynasty league group me that we have, Eric randomly posts, "Hey, anyone looking to do a hockey league?" And it's like for money. I'm like, oh, you know what? I follow hockey. I'm sure I've mentioned this clearly, and I'm sure I get a lot of hate for it because I am a Sharks fan. Growing up in the Bay Area, I grew up watching Bay Area sports.
It's not so much hate as it's more pity at this point. You went from perennial conference final contender to whatever they are now.
Trust me, man. It's been, but yeah. So Eric posted that in a group, and I know. Yeah, we definitely have a lot in the pipeline.
Yeah,
Eric kind of posted. Yeah. Eric posted that in our group me, and I'm like, all right, let me join in. And Eric kind of sent me the information through email, and I got through that. I paid Adrian the money and got involved with all the different group me's. I can tell you that our Charlie Boys League group me is dead as a duck compared to the main one with everyone in it.
Yeah,
and I've been more active in our main one. And honestly, I do get a lot of pity and a lot of flack for being a minority fan base, but I held my own. I can have my own. I do take it back. I do give it back, and I remember your last podcast. Todd gave me a little jab at your last podcast when Todd was, and I was laughing when I saw that. I'm like, oh well done, buddy. Fair enough. But yeah, honestly, I did horrible this year in the league. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I think it's just gonna take me a few years to get used to the standings or record and get used to the whole scoring. But it's been fun. I mean, I'm active. I'm setting my lineups every day. I'm trying my best with whatever team I drafted. It's definitely been a fun year of fantasy hockey. Although I wish for a better result year one. But you know what? Eric gave me some good advice because I told him I was struggling, and Eric was like, you know what? The first few years I struggled as well. Don't worry about it. In due time, you're gonna be able to pick it up and.
Yeah, it's
just different
it takes
formats.
My first year, I had one team didn't make the playoffs. I think the next year I had 3 teams, and I had 1 make the playoffs. So
nice.
It's like you got a less than 50% chance of making the playoffs because the divisions have 15 teams, and the top 7 get in. So first overall in your division gets a bye to the second round, and then after that it's just straight up playoffs until we get to the major. We've got all the division winners plus the toilet bowl winner, which is something you are, even though they are well out of the playoffs, are still in. So you still have a chance to be in round 4 even if you don't make the playoffs. I've optimized my 3 teams. I have 3 teams this year. I'm a veteran. I didn't make the playoffs. It's not easy. You got to be lucky, and you got to be skilled, and you also really kind of have to take advantage of the schedule as best you can. That's a big thing that a lot of people don't realize is that schedule optimizing is a thing and it's very effective. Like you will get maybe not necessarily as many fantasy points per game on average, but you'll get more overall, and that's what really matters.
One thing I noticed that I haven't been in other leagues, I've done hockey for years now, is the ads restrictions. I've never seen a league that has so little ads per year, and you have to really make sure
Mm-hmm.
you have to maximize. I'm actually just pulling up my team right now. I still have 7 claims remaining plus 4 trades remaining on my thing. I don't know why I was holding on for them for so long, or
Yeah. Well,
whether or not
it's
I'm trying to
5 days
just
to the
save those
playoffs.
ads. I mean, it's fun to have those in the playoffs. Don't get me wrong; those 7 claims remaining, I'm gonna have to utilize those probably during the toilet bowl, as you rightfully
Well, the
mentioned.
thing
But
is like those 7, they will disappear once the playoffs start. You'll get 3 a week then.
oh, interesting.
So I would
Okay.
make use of those before the 8th, which is when the playoffs start. So what I would do is I would go ahead and adjust your lines for the entire playoffs. Then make whoever your guys are that are often on the bench, not doing anything. Try to find somebody who's playing on more off nights, and that'll be the best efforts for the toilet bowl. Because that's
Yeah,
because
I'm gonna.
that's
Yeah,
3 weeks of combined points, whereas the playoff rounds are 1 week of combined points, followed by another, followed by another. The toilet bowl is
yeah.
3 rounds long, so 3 weeks.
Uh, right. I'm gonna have to like do some digging and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you. Honestly, I don't know if you got a chance to look at the team I have. I mean, I thought I drafted well enough for it to be good. Just injuries here and there,
Well, what's the
players
name of your team?
underperform.
What's the name of your team?
Uh, Austin Jawbreakers,
Austin Jawbreakers. And what division?
Charlie Boys.
Charlie Boys. Okay, yeah, and that division. Well, I've actually written kind of like a Cole's notes of all the divisions and the overall battles coming up. We'll get the Charles Boys, which I always thought was pronounced Charlebois, but until I saw like a clip from the movie, which yet to see. Still have not seen Slapshot. I've heard it's painful because of how not politically correct it is. It can
I
get
haven't seen
like,
it either.
yeah, I've heard it. It's just like okay, you got to keep in mind the time and the subject matter. But yeah, best things for you to do, especially if you're in a division where you've only got like a certain amount of engagement, there might be some real juicy ones on free agency that you're not even aware of, right? And
Yeah.
like you could pick out like some Washington guy who's now getting top 6 minutes, and he could get you a bunch in the playoffs. You don't know, right? Like that made
Like
me think of
example like Hendricks like example like Hendricks Lapierre.
Hendrix Lapierre or Connor McMichael. He's another one.
Actually.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
and even Patches if he's available.
Patches.
Yeah,
Nice
like
name.
he's still Pacioretty is one of those guys. He's a shot machine, despite the fact that he's
Right.
obviously taken a step back due to his Achilles injuries rather. And
Mm-hmm.
now he still fires them, but he's not getting the bounces he once was because like I'm in another league that really values shots and stuff like that, and like I remember Patches being just absolute 3rd round money, right? Like always drafted,
Yeah.
right? This year because he didn't start the year, he started the year on IR. He was drafted late by a few people and picked up by a few people. Like I know my girlfriend Carly, she recently picked up Patches in one of her divisions because she needed some people, and he was just there, just sitting there, right? And Washington, for example, does have a good playoff schedule. So does St. Louis. So does Ottawa. So does Anaheim. Couple more that I can't think of off the top of my head. If John was here, he would know. He's got that down to a science. And that's the thing.
Probably anyone playing my Sharks too, right?
Yeah. It's playing the Sharks helps, but like having 4 games in a
Yeah.
week, if
Also true.
yeah, like you want to get rid of guys that only have 2 games a week, for one of the weeks because they're not going to be that useful to you in the playoffs if you make the playoffs. But if you don't make the playoffs in your total pool, you got to look at the net of the 3 weeks, right? And
Yeah.
like Leafs, for example, are a very good example. If you're on a playoff team, your Leafs guys aren't the most valuable because they're only playing 2 games in round one. But if you're in the toilet bowl, they're playing 9 games over the 3 weeks. So it's still not too bad. Most teams are playing anywhere from 8 to 11 games, depending on the team.
Yeah, this kind of concept is kind of new to me of like whole like maximizing a toilet bowl scenario. I
Mm-hmm.
guess
Well, you're
I
planning for
guess
the
like I have
schedule, right?
yeah, you kind of have to play for a schedule, especially because this is considered a roto league if I'm not mistaken, right?
No,
This is like a
this is not a rotisserie league. This is a points league. Rotisserie works like, say we have 15 players in the division, and you are
right.
first and you're first place in goals. You would get 15 points. Second place would get 14 points.
Okay, see, this
That's
is
how
why I thought it
rotisserie
was like
works.
it's kind of like a mix of roto and points because you're not playing head to head against
No,
anyone
it's
really.
not. It's not head to head at all. But there's specifically rotisserie, which is an accumulative ranking
You're
stats,
right,
whereas points is points, right? Like
right.
it's a little difficult to explain, but rotisserie is a totally different ball game.
I know,
Would
I know.
totally
I think
change.
I'm just looked. I just looked like the way the standings are posted. It looked like something you would see in a roto type league almost
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in a
because
roto league,
because
and it's
yeah,
it's quite different. It's quite different
it
because
is quite different. It's quite different how you score it, but like the way the standings are posted is almost similar.
well,
Like
yeah, I
whoever's
guess so. Yeah, in terms of a standings viewpoint, yes, it is. But in terms of how the standings are uh,
right. If you get,
ranked,
if you, yeah,
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 if
I know. I've been in a roto league. I get it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think this is kind of like an individual points league per team per season. Whoever is
yeah,
able to get the most
it's a
points.
long-term points game as opposed to a week-to-week points game.
Yeah, and
But
that's kind of what I'm more used to. I'm more used to a week to week like points like or like a week to week
which is
cats
typical
type
for
sport.
football. It's typical for football, especially, right? Like
I'm a
you can't do a rotisserie league football. It just doesn't work because
no
there's
foot,
only 16 games in a season.
and I'll be honest, football is the only team where there is only one logical format, and it is points. There's no other format. Like
Yeah,
baseball, for example, you can do baseball, basketball,
yeah,
hockey. Even you can do like
they're
all
very different.
you can do all. Yeah, football is the only one that's like 17-week seasons or like 18 weeks, depending on how long
Yeah,
your
and
league goes through.
the head-to-head concept,
Yeah.
that's totally rooted in football, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
yeah, right. But when you get over into hockey, like some people really hate head-to-head. They can't stand it, right? But there's others who are just like, all right, that's great. Let's do it. I'm in what is it? 4 dynasties in hockey, and one of them is no, 2 of them are week to week categories head to head.
Ah, nice.
Right? So if you win the category, you get a point. You lose the category, you don't get a point. If you tie, well, you get a tie point, right? So, and like the standings are done like that, and then we have a playoffs that we arbitrarily do halfway through. But then there's head to heads that are all week or all season. There's so many possible permutations, right? And
Speaking of dynasty leagues, actually, I think just last week, like 12 days ago, I I'm like struggling in that league, and I made a massive trade. I basically traded away center Robert Thomas of the Blues. I got back Dmitry Voronkov, Marco Casper, Alex Turcotte, Shakir Mukhamac, and Jet Greaves. I'm like, wow, what a haul for that kind of player in a place where I'm like, all
well,
right, time to rebuild.
you got a lot of lottery tickets there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've made like similar trades too. I think like earlier in the year, I believe I made a big trade as well, like very early in the year. I think this was like back in November, and one of my people really wanted a Matthew Tkachuk for me, and I traded him actually because like the haul I got back was remarkable. Cole Sillinger, Matty Beniers, a 2024-2025 first, a 2024-2025 second, a 2025-2026 first, a 2025-26 second, and a 2026-2027 second. That is going to be good if I'm
So 2
rebuilding that.
firsts, 3 seconds, and 2 roster players or prospects.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good haul. Just depends on where you at, right? Like, did you just sewer yourself for the next 5 years, or is you going to be shits anyways, and you built yourself up for the next 5 or 6 years?
Right
But
now,
that's
record-wise
dynasty,
in
right?
that league, yeah, record-wise right now, I'm kind of 7-12 right now in that league, and I'm like, I believe like in free agency, I was able to like pick up some like interesting names that were available in free agency that were like
Yeah,
it's like
it's
fill up my taxi roster. For example, Raphael Lavoie was available. Like Emil Heinemann was available. Vancouver's Arstide Baines. I picked up him. Like Martin Pasil. Like
yeah.
Akito Hiroz. Like these like guys.
Sounds
And
like you're in a league that's not well versed in hockey prospects. If those guys were just
I
sitting there,
also just like 3 days ago, I picked up Logan Stankoven, the Stank Man,
and he was just
as
there.
some people. He was just sitting there. Yeah, I picked him up
Yeah,
as soon as day after he debuted, and I'm a big Logan Stankoven fan actually because
yeah,
as you know, I went to Austin actually earlier before the season. I actually went to a Dallas Stars preseason game at the HEB Center here in
yeah.
Austin, and Logan Stankoven was by far the best player I saw on
Yeah,
that field there,
he's
and
just a little guy too. I've seen him skate up to like the rest of his team, and they all towered over him. He's just a
I know,
little
but
guy.
but
He's
for a little
good.
guy, he's
He's good.
scoring. I'm
As
like, you
far
know
as
what? If he's available, you got to swoop him up if he's already debuted
as
because
long
certain
as you
leagues,
got skill, you can be 5'6" and 145 pounds in the NHL. If you got the skill and the speed,
skills.
you can compete. I mean, look at Nathan Gerbe. He was
Oh yeah,
tiny. He was tiny, but he carved out an NHL career for himself. You know, he got paid a lot of money to play hockey, and he's just what 5'6", which is ridiculous.
right.
Yeah, but yeah, back to Hogs. Just for those of you who are not aware, this is a points league, and we do have head-to-head playoffs that we manually judge because you can't really combine a points league with that's cumulative to a uh, head-to-head sort of playoffs in the Fantrax settings. So
No,
there's no way to combine those two, which is what we had to do for our league to make it fair. Uh, Otherwise, you're head-to-head all year or your points all year. There's no in between.
no, and this is kind of you guys. I'm sure Adrian has had to like find a workaround that's been working for like years. I'm not actually not
Yeah.
sure how long
Well,
this league has been
you'll
around.
see what it looks. It'll be easier to track once we change
Get
the names of people. Like if you are in second place, for example, the front of your name will have in square brackets uh, number 2 versus number 6 Brophy or something like that. Something similar to that. I forget exactly what it is. But everybody that's in the playoffs will
right,
and you right and so you'll look at the weekly standings as opposed to the season long standings. So you'll go on
of course.
dates, and for to determine say week 1, you would go to dates as opposed to year to date and put in March 8th for the beginning date, and it would be March 14th for the last date. And those dates, whatever the points are accumulated across that period, those are the ones that we use to judge the first round, right? But if you're in first place, you don't have to worry about first round. That's just as you sitting back and making use of your ads and just waiting for
Giving up.
the results. All right, let's go division by division here now. We're going to start with the big wig division. This is called the cool guy division by Adrian, but like I don't really know how cool you can be when you're this big of a nerd when it comes to hockey. But it's down to in first place, we've actually got a really huge battle for first place in Brophy. Aki Verhage and Threat Level Midnight, they're only separated by 33 points. That's a man game. That's a man game.
Oh yeah, Brophy looks tight. I just looked at it
Yeah.
right now. It's like 3977 to 3942, and that's a doozy matchup there.
Yeah. 33 points. That's it. That's still anybody's game, and that's $300
No.
on the line, right? That's
Right,
300
of course.
and a buy, right? So there's quite a bit at stake already before we even get to the finals. So, and we also have a tight playoff race between WHA Fanatic, which is Uncool Steve. You'll see him in the chat. And Nothing Is Over, which I'm pretty sure is Johnny Coldcuts, aka Rambo. 135 points separating seventh and eighth, and
Yeah.
fifth and sixth are not overly far ahead either.
No, that's actually like to about maybe less than 200 points, if not just below 200 points separating there.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tight one in
I
Brophy. I'm well out of it.
yeah.
I'm in there as Honk if you're Honkvist, but I prepared as best I can for the toilet bowl. But unfortunately, I lost Adrian Kempe this week, and
I did hear about that.
Yeah,
I
he
did
might
hear
be
about
out.
that.
He might be out to the end of March, so he might be gone for the entire Hogs playoffs, right? So I don't know. I'm more optimistic about my Carlson team at this point for the playoffs than I am about my Hornquist team. Let's move on to Hanrahan. This one's pretty much decided. Sway
yeah, the Cole Harbor boys and Baby Juicy, the top two right there. Look, I think like wow, almost 600 points separating first and second is really impressive. What a season by Cole Harbor boys.
Yeah, Cole Harbor boys is actually threatening for first overall. They're in second place overall right now. So we'll get back. We'll get to the overall standings at the end. But right now, Sway Too Sexy has a shot at seventh from Andy Lance, but it's not terribly likely. There's a 377 point. It's kind of iffy. If he has a good week, you know that like to be honest, 377 points can be overcome in about 2-3 nights. So there's time.
Oh yeah,
there's time.
All you need is really one good week and one good day to like really like overcome that bridge that gap.
Yeah,
I know this playing. Yep, I know this playing points league. Like all you need is really one or two good days a week, and in points leagues, that like one or two good days can like really switch a matchup.
Yeah.
Like I'm not only talking about Hogs or like hockey, but in like any sport, for example, points leagues. You just need one or two games to overcome. And I'm sure I've experienced this in me and Eric's Dynasty Baseball League where someone is doing good the first like 3-4 weeks of the game, and then like someone takes over on the weekend and like overtakes a matchup and like really like affects standings. I've experienced it countless times in our Dynasty League for baseball, me and Eric's league. But it's
magic of small sample sizes, right? The playoffs is just that. It's just a snapshot of the week. It's so arbitrary. We're going from March 8th to March 14th. Like, okay, right? And you got to look at like, is your guy? How many games is he playing this week? Who is your guy? How many games you're getting in total? Is there like people that you can pick up off of free agency to swap out with other people that just aren't going to be playing so that they can actually play? Like, just say you've got, say you got a Sharon Govich, for example, there. And like, his games are only on game nights where other people who are better than him are playing. Well, maybe you drop Sharon Govich for, I don't know, Braden Shen, because he's got a great schedule. St. Louis has got a good schedule for the playoffs here. And you pick him up, and then all of a sudden you've got 3 extra games in a week and a better shot at winning your round. So that's pretty much how that goes. Let's move on to Wanchuk. 7 through 9 is very close there. 231 points are separating Kupchak, Oh Baby, and Madison Slide. Panarin's Lambeth is running away with it. That's another top team. And
yes.
Wanchuk, the final playoff spot is still up for grabs. 7 through 9 have a shot.
Yeah. I mean, like, look at the gap between 8 and 9 is almost single digits, I think, or even just below single digits.
Yeah. I'll look at it here on my phone. Actually, now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, like 27297, like 27297 to like 27279. That's not that far off to like creep up there. And plus, like Kupchak,
that's 82 points.
And Kupchak's hanging on. I wouldn't say by a thread because he still has a sizable lead, but like 7 through 9 is going to be a fun battle there to see who squeaks it out like the rest of the week and to end the season.
In the past, we've actually had a tie between 7th and 8th. And I believe the way we decided is, if I remember correctly, is that the first day of the playoffs, whoever gets the highest points for that day wins the 7th seed. That's how it. That's how it.
Wow.
So essentially, the regular season and the playoffs combine for them on that day, because the regular season is contingent on them scoring more points that day, that first day of the playoffs, but it also counts towards their playoff run, right? So
You know what this
it's
reminds me of?
rare, it's super rare. I think we've had it happen twice, and yeah, that's what we decided to do about it.
You know, that reminds me of this, like, I'm a baseball fan. Growing up, I also watched baseball. When there was, like, I remember there was, I think it happened, I forget what year it happened. It happened once where both teams were tied at the end of the regular season. They actually had to play a 160 game, 160. I'm not sure when year that was, but they
Mm.
had to play an extra game to, like, determine
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had
who
the
made it
exact
to the
record,
playoffs.
and they didn't. And their playoff, their tiebreaker was an extra game, which is typical for baseball because they play so many goddamn games, like 162. Like I can't even understand how anybody can sit through June baseball. Um, let's move on to McCracken. 6th through ninth
McCracken,
is
right?
separated by 539 points, but 7th through ninth is only separated by 270. So that is
Yeah.
very, very close. It's anybody's game. The 4 teams that are in there are the Nathan Bunch, WHA Fanatic again. That's Uncle Steve's second playoff team. Gimme the Loot and Tofu Robots. Those are your 6 through 9, and yeah, that seventh,
That's a fun matchup.
that 7th is up
Yeah.
for grabs. So people are going to be really
I would
trying
say
this week.
I would say sixth is also even up for grabs too,
Mm-hmm.
because not many points between Nathan Bunch and WHA Fanatic. That should
No,
be.
there isn't. Yeah, there's
I think
only about let's see, 269 separating, I do
Yeah.
believe. Yeah, 269
Yep.
between 6th and 7th. Which, like if Nathan Bunch has a bad week, all of a sudden they're on the outside looking in, right? Because at this point,
All it
there's
takes is
only
one.
5 more days. 5 more
All it
days.
takes.
Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. 5 days. 5 days of games left in the regular season. Let's move on to Braden. 6th through 9th is separated by 568 points. Very similar situation to McCracken.
Mm-hmm.
But 7th through 9th is 350 points, and 6th through 8th is 307 points. So 6th through 9th, the last 2 playoff spots there are really up for grabs. We got Grabner Tits, which is my girlfriend Carly's team. Andy Lance, I'm kind of bedarded, and Blades of Steel. While I sniped Jimmy's players, which is an inside joke, uh, referring to Jimmy Corio, is actually winning that division. So yeah, Grabner Tits is holding on there in 6th, but it's still she's got to work hard on that one and keep it up.
Can I say one thing about
Mm,
that division?
mm.
I think fifth is also up for grabs, right?
Really?
With
Let's have a look.
I mean, Jansen's leftovers got 28072, and Grabnertits it's 27830. I mean, not far off for fifth. I mean, you might need a little good luck here
Yeah,
and there.
that's a 400 and from 8th to 5th is a, let's see, 545 points. So it's
Yeah,
doable. Like Jansen is not, who's one of the league organizers, by the way. Jansen's left. Oh no, somebody else making fun of Jansen. I think Jansen is actually I sniped Jimmy's players. So Jimmy is actually Jansen's leftovers. Pretty sure.
yes, it is. I just looked at the winner's
Yeah,
name. Yeah.
yeah. So Jimmy is pretty safe, but he's not 100% safe. He could
Nope,
fall,
he's not out of the woods. He's not
right?
out of the woods.
Like Grabner
That's
Tits had a 454 point night last night, while Andy Lance below them at a 154 point night. So she gained 300 points in one night on that
and
place.
this is exactly what we're talking about earlier. All it takes is one good day for you to continue to, like, slowly creep up.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're
honestly,
not over. You're not over. It's not over until 3 weeks into the playoffs. That's the earliest it can be over for you
I
in
mean,
this league, despite the fact there's
I
over
mean,
200 people.
look at this. Like, in Braden, Jukebox Myra had like a 552 point night too. That's like insane for a 1 day's worth of points.
What was that, jukebox? Yeah,
Yeah,
596. I've seen people get over 7 and 800 point nights. They just had a lucky night
goal
where
scoring
everybody,
spree or something. Yeah,
they got a shutout. There was a hat trick. Everybody else got at least an assist, and then all of a sudden it just piles up, and all of a sudden you've got this huge juicy pile of points that just came to you. Now let's move on.
and you just have what's considered a logjam when that happens in standings. When that happens, like throughout the week.
Exactly. Let's move on to Upton. 7 through 10 is just separated by 48 points. That's nothing. That is nothing.
Juicy.
7th is completely up for grabs, and it's between 4 people separated by a measly 48 points. We've got Never Go Full Beard, Bedarded, Fluffers, Kachuk, and once again, my girlfriend is doing really well this year. She's got 4 cups of coffee in there, just only 48 points out of a playoff spot in 10th, which is crazy.
Honestly, I think this might be the closest 7 through 10, 7th place race in the league right now.
Oh yeah,
that
so
we've
far
gone over. So
I looked at all of them, and yeah, this is Upton is the division to watch. It is anybody's race for 7th. There's like the 48 points as meaningless. Like 48 points might not mean much when it comes down to the end. Let's move on. Let's move on to one that is decidedly decided, and that's Tuttle. 1 through 7 is locked. That's it.
Yeah. I would have
close.
to agree with you on that.
Divide by 0 leads it. Oh, and by the way, Nordy's was ahead in the top one in Upton. So yeah, Tuttle is the one you have to keep your eye the least on as a playoff race because it is decided. There's a couple more decided as well. But the next one would be Dunlop. These are all named after people that were in the Slapshot movie, by the way. That's what our division names are from. So first and second is separated by a mere 82 points. Alberta Express and Dun Dun.
Up for grabs there for sure.
Yeah, that's $300 and a buy on the line with 82 points separating them with 5 days left. And 6 through 8 is only 156 point spread. That's between Kelbas, Stephen Blue, and Mike Tyson. Yeah, 156 points. Again, that's just as meaningless as 48 points. And that's two playoff spots up for grabs. Somebody's going to be in 8th going, oh, man, at the end of Thursday. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Moving on to Carlson, it is also decided. 1 through 7 looks pretty locked in. Max DeRoche is the runaway guy there. Lucier was where our first overall person exists. That would be Todd Hoddick with St. Pat's. That division is also decided 1 through 7. 8th is too far from 7th to really catch up. But we'll talk about overall standings here in a little bit. We got 2 more divisions to go. Swamptown, 7th and 8th are separated by a mere 211 points. That is anybody's game there, too, with Braden Paget.
And Dave Turcotte. That's
Turcotte.
A good one.
Mm-hmm. And the Cincinnati Stingers are running away with that one. I believe they're 4th overall. And Charles Boy, which is your division, that is looking decided as well. First and second separated by 324 points. Could be up for grabs. That's Thrilla and Carilla and Tragically Hip 2.0. But Charles Boy, not too exciting going into the playoffs. But overall, if you look at the standings, don't click on all. Click on combined. Because that's all. I'm not sure what all is, but combined is what you want to click on to see the regular season standings. And 1 through 4, there's 5 days left. 1 through 4 is separated by 485 points. That's it. Which
is insane.
Which is very, very leapable. St. Pat's has a 290-point lead on Cole Harbour Boys. Cole Harbour Boys has an even slimmer lead on Nordy's, 121 points. And Nordy's has a yet even slimmer lead on Cincinnati Stinger with 84 points. So this is quite the race for most divisions and for first overall. It's very exciting stuff.
Wow. I will say this, the LUS division, I forget what name is that. You've got two teams in the top 5 right there. That's a
Who's that?
really good division. The St. Pat's and Line Pass, both in the same division or same group, are in the top 5. That's pretty impressive, actually,
Yeah,
to have
it
those two.
just happens to be the way the shift of the points
Yep.
swung over those guys, and they're maximizing their games. I assure you. And the thing is now is that first place overall race, I believe $700 American is on the line after entering in 100. Plus, you'll get 300 for your division win. So if you win first overall, like that's a grand.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh.
And you haven't done anything in the playoffs. You just played till March. All of a sudden, here's a grand, no big deal, right? Hold on to maybe a couple of $100 for next year's entry, and you got some spend-in money for the weekend, right? Go buy yourself a PS5. I don't know.
I'm just looking at the overall standings. Not a good showing year one. I'll say I ended up probably right now in 147th place overall. Honestly, for my first time, it's not terrible. It could have been worse.
Well, how many players? How many individual teams? Who is in last place? Is probably somebody who just failed to set their lines, and now they've got a bunch of guys.
It is actually in the Upton division with Vince Manieri with 5,981 points.
He stopped paying attention to his lines and dialed out a long time ago. But
and I was
156 people.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
180.
180. Sorry, 180. So that means that we have had 12 divisions this year. We're hoping next year that we can break 200 and get hopefully 15 divisions or 14.
Oh,
that would break 200.
Oh yeah.
How many teams
I
did
see.
you have this
Also,
year?
I only did just the one, just to kind of get used to.
Go for
you
3
did
next
3,
year.
right?
Yeah, go for 3 next
I'll
year.
see.
If you got the cash, right? Because you get a
I'm trying to be more diligent with cash. I actually just, I think 6-7 weeks. I actually went back to school to start my second master, so a lot of my money's gonna have to be put into paying.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
What's your first master's in?
Information systems, and I'm doing my second one in data science.
Oh wow! So you're a big computer guy. Yeah, I'm about to start a master's this fall. Just I got to get accepted first, and that would be a master of adult education.
Yeah, so I actually did my undergrad in computer information systems. So my first master's was kind of like an extension of that, and then I'm like just actually recently just started my second one like 6-7 weeks ago. I start my second class next Monday. So yeah, I'm working full time and doing my master's at the same time, which is kind of a nice that I'm doing it online, and like I'm also able to like do one class every 6-7 weeks to kind of maintain the load. But I also have work going on during the week. So yeah, second
but you
one.
Still find time for fantasy, right?
Of course.
You got it. And
tend to send the night before. Lineups night before.
One thing I want to mention to viewers too is if you do get more than one, you can have up to 3 teams. If we needed to fill divisions, sometimes we'll grant a 4th to certain people, but that's rare. You can have up to 3 teams if they'd be in separate divisions, so you'd have 3 shots at the whole thing. First team would be $100, second team $90, and your third team is also $90. You get a $10 discount off of second and third teams. So
nice.
You can spend $280 on 3 teams and have a fun year. I mean, that's what I did. I didn't make the playoffs, but I very could have easily. And a couple of years now, I finished in the top 10. I finished 4th one year, and I finished 10th or 6th one year.
No way!
Yeah, I was in the final 4 one year, but came in 4th. Had the least amount of points. I had a sniff at the championship at the bucket, but sadly, not mine to be had. All right. Well, thank you very much, Pratap. I really appreciate you doing a podcast with me, introducing yourself as a rookie, and showing that this league is for everybody. All right.
It is. Also, I'll say this, and I know I'm gonna have to mention my Sharks here on this podcast, but I think we have a good playoff schedule for some teams that need to like get points on us. We'll see how that goes. But
Yeah,
just a
Fabian Zetterlund.
just a yeah, I love that guy, but I have one shark on my fantasy team right now, and unfortunately, he's back on the injured list.
Hurdle.
Yeah,
All right.
El Capitan.
No. Oh, Couture. Okay. Yeah, they shut him down
I'm
and
not
Hurdle down for the season because they want to
Hurdle's the
tank.
vice. I'm pretty sure Hurdle's our vice. Pretty sure Hurdle's the vice captain, unless I'm wrong.
The associate.
But
I wouldn't be surprised. Him or Vlasic.
oh,
Yeah.
pickles, yeah.
Have a good one, Pratap, and good luck in the toilet bowl.
You too, man. Appreciate the time.
Okay. Bye.